So I've tried to imagine what solitary confinement in a modern prison must be like.
Oh, I'm ready, right?
What do you got?
Fucking horrifying. Boredom to the point of derangement.
Yep.
Terminal back pain from lying down all the time.
On concrete.
Shit, you'd sleep a lot. Or at least go into stasis.
Well, not necessarily. You might not sleep because usually they might leave the lights on 24/7.
Are you serious? So they go full torture?
Yeah, you full on lights the whole time.
And they play like a 1950s Gene Autry song on mega volume about being happy or something.
I don't think they do that. I think that would be going too far. But yeah, but as you said, it's a full on concrete box where nowhere to lie down really. I mean, there might be a concrete slab to lie down on.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
At least
and the lights are on the whole time, so sleeping is not easy.
Do they really keep the lights on? I didn't realise it was active. I thought it was just like, all right, look, you got day and night and stuff, but and you get one magazine and it's got to be on shoelaces.
And you got no one to talk to because you're by yourself in the cell, and you can,
that bit I knew.
Yeah, but the guards will walk past, and you obviously can't talk to the guards. But then also, often your neighbours might be in solitary confinement next door, and they're, as you are probably, going quietly or loudly mad, you're screaming and kicking at the doors and the rubbing your shit all over the place.
I assume before that there's heaps of masturbating. No, I'm sure I bet there's heaps of masturbating.
Look,
before you're rubbing shit on yourself, unless that's your version of masturbation. And who am I to judge?
But probably, I mean, that's the only form of entertainment. But you're right, going slowly mad. Yeah. I mean, Nelson Mandela. When he was in prison, they occasionally put him in solitary, and he's like, that was the most forbidding aspect of prison life. That was the bit that he dreaded.
I went to that prison. I went on a tour of that prison on Robben Island.
Oh, cool.
And the people at the time who would do the tours were former inmates.
Oh.
And we had this very quiet, small, unassuming bloke, and he's walking us around going, oh, this is where solitary was, and this is where blah, blah. And I'm just like, oh, I really don't know how I feel about this. Like, he was lovely and really appreciative and blah, blah, blah. But seeing it was not great.
Yeah.
And that was it the lime they were chiseling? That's where a lot of them lost their eyesight because bright glare off. Like, it was just.
Oh, wow.
It was
Jesus
fucked up. So yeah, I can.
But we've also known like that this is horrible for hundreds of years. Charles Dickens, he visited a few prisons, and weirdly, his dad was in prison and the whole family moved into prison at one point. Charles was old enough that he had a little job on the outside, so he'd go there for breakfast and dinner. But anyway.
Can I come around to your place? No, they don't really like it.
No, they would have everyone over for breakfast in the prison. I'm not really sure how that works, but anyway. But he wrote the slow and daily tampering with the mysteries of the brain in solitary would be immeasurably worse than any torture on the body. And they knew it. Like 1870, there's records in Danish prisons of people in solitary confinement getting acute signs of mental distress, or whatever they would call it in the time, anxiety, paranoia, hallucinations. So, but that's where Christopher Havens found himself in November 2012. So just to give a tiny backstory on Christopher Havens, he'd had a few years running with the wrong crew, on the run from the law, losing contact with his kids and his family. And eventually he ended up in Washington State Penitentiary in...
Washington State?
Washington State.
Seattle.
So he landed there, and his dad gave him some not very helpful advice. I don't know. Maybe it's the advice we all need to go to prison. It's like... do you want to be the clownfish in a sea of sharks? There's a lot of sharks out there. What are you going to do? And so Christopher Havens went, oh, all right.
It's fuck up or get fucked, isn't it?
I better be the shark. So he joined a gang, and to join the gang, they're like, okay, you to test your loyalty, you got to go beat up another prisoner. So he's like, all right, I'll go beat up another. Then he ends up in solitary. So
But loyal.
Yeah, man. He's been in solitary for a couple of months. And then suddenly there was a lifeline. A man walked by the door and Christopher noticed him, and he was giving out things to the other inmates. And
strong drugs.
Havens said, maybe. And Havens said, what do you got there? Dude didn't say anything. But the next day he came back and he slipped something under Christopher Havens' door. It was a math puzzle. Welcome to The Wholesome Show.
The podcast in which two academics...
Very academics.
He's half, I'm the other half.
Yeah.
Take a few beers and dive down the rabbit hole at a rate of knots.
At a rate of knots.
Yeah.
Quick shout out. This story, Christopher Haven's story, is a thank you to a listener. Thank you, Libois. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correct or not correct, because that is a username. But anyway, sent this to us saying, hey, I want to hear this story. So thank you very much. If you have a topic, listener, chuck it in the comments below or in email form at cheers@wholesomeshow.com.
So, what's your name?
Will Grant.
You sure?
And yours?
Roderick G. Lamberts. The G is for goodness gracious me.
Really?
Yeah. My mother was surprised.
Goodness gracious me.
That was an exciting birth.
Yeah, fair enough. My mum said, the doctor said, I've never seen that before when I came out. And the doctor, and
a baby?
Well, I don't know if it was like that. I've never seen one of these before.
A full beard. It's unusual.
And she was like, what? I mean, I assume that is not the thing any new mother, any new parent wants to hear at the moment of delivery. I've never seen that before. You're like, oh, shit, here we go.
But it's fine.
Yeah, it's all fine.
And by it, I mean...
Yeah, that's what you got to lead with. You got to lead with, we're all fine, but I've never seen that before.
That's what I had when I had this thing go wrong, and I had a big weird lump and a kidney explosion, and I'm lying in intensive care kind of going, I don't know what's going on, not under a scanner. And the guy comes in and goes, so you've got this tumour, and all I could hear was white noise from that point on, and finally he gets to blah, 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 benign. I'm like, you son of a fucking wank.
Lead with benign.
The word benign is the first thing out of your lips before I even know what you're talking about. You idiot. In fact, I've never seen that before, would have been better. I had a word.
Christopher Havens was a smart kid growing up. As far as we know, like he dived into a bunch of things at school, but he dived into maths a fair bit.
Okay.
And in fact, you know, by fourth grade, his teacher, I don't know how employed or got him to, but he was tutoring the other kids. It's like and I assume this
fourth grade.
Yeah, I don't know if he's formally tutoring. What I assume is he's helping the kids next to him to say, hey.
In my primary school, if you were tutoring kids in maths in fourth grade, you were definitely the clownfish and not the shark.
no doubt. Maybe that's why
you got to come and hang with this guy. He's
his dad
tutoring
needed
us.
to give the advice. I get it.
Aren't we 9?
So I don't know, but he was keen on maths and really interested.
I got no beef with that, but don't tutor your peers, because I think some of them think ill of you.
But things went a little off the rails. In some stories, this might be because he moved around a fair bit.
Yeah.
Christopher's described himself as saying, I always wanted to fit in, and when we move around a fair bit, then I was awkward and fitting in, and he ran with the wrong crowd. You know,
They're the easy ones.
Yeah, they're welcoming, maybe.
We'll be a total wank bag, and they're like, yeah, cool, so are we. That's easier than actually getting to know people in some more intricate fashion.
It might be, but anyway, there was weed, and then alcohol. And then mushrooms, then LSD. I don't know the time. And then pain pills, and then meth. This
is still fourth grade.
I don't have the dates. No, I don't know. And I've written, and then things spiraled. And I look. As he has readily admitted, things did go a little bit out of control.
I don't think meth is the kind of thing where you go, I'm feeling really stable, balanced, enjoying my life, have a good set of friends, and I'm interested. I think I'll do a bunch of meth.
It might be.
Not impossible,
it
but
might be.
I think it's less common than other variations.
You might be fine.
I am fine. I'm fine.
But yeah, he lost his job. He was a cook, cooking the graveyard shift. I think the meth made him a little bit paranoid or something like that. He lost his job, and as is a common story at the time, well, you know, for many involved, he started dealing. And then he got more paranoid, and then he and another buddy killed the other dealer that he was working with. Yeah, not good.
That's a big step from I'm doing a bit of dealing. Anyway, I murdered a dude.
I don't know the full story, and that's not the point. All it is to say is, you know,
things got bad.
Things got bad. Deeds were done, and Christopher Havens got his 25 years, which took him to that state penitentiary in Washington State,
which is nothing but grunge music, so it wasn't all terrible.
Maybe
it was all the Seattle sound.
Yeah, all the Seattle sound. Yeah. But jump back to the math puzzle.
Mm-hmm.
So here's Christopher Havens when describing that moment. I was in the hole, which is another word for solitary confinement. For those of you not in the lingo,
like we do,
you know, in the hole.
Show me your prison tat.
It's in my hole.
It can still be filmed.
Well, I don't think we're allowed to do that. Picture living in a small concrete room where an incredibly bright fluorescent light stays on the entire time. So yeah, he had the full light situation.
But that's fucking demented. Like, I mean, it's one thing. I can see how people might have thought solitary wasn't active torture. Like, I can see.
Oh yeah, we're not actively pulling a tooth,
but leaving the light on.
But
giving people no dark time, not good.
I assume it's also one of those things where, okay, you try it. Like, if you don't think it's torture, demonstrate to me that you would be happy to do this. And I get the whole prison thing is not a thing that we normally demonstrate that you're happy to do, but...
This is what I said to the doctor who, while I was still awake, wanted to put a catheter in.
You said to the doctor,
he said, I'm just going to put this in, it's not that bad. And I looked at him and said, have you ever had one? And he said, no. And I said, then don't tell me how it's going to be. It wasn't great.
Maybe he's got a very wide urethra.
I do now. Oh, him. Sorry, I don't know.
Huh?
Mine, you drive a bus down it.
Yeah, fine. So it's probably fine. I don't know what we're looking for in
trouser cam
catheter sizing. Anyway.
But yes, if you haven't tried, I agree with you though, they should try it out. Like, spend one day in there with the 24-hour light on.
Jesus. You know how I would not be happy?
You're always happy. You're the happiest guy I know.
No, I know, but as a person that likes to
people
see other people and not be trapped in a windowless box.
Couldn't go 24 hours? That's all right, man. That's not your fault. You're a sociable guy. That's
here we go. He says 24 is not the problem because time has no meaning with no windows to the outside and no remarkable features to mark the passage of time.
Yeah.
In fact, there's no remarkable features anywhere. Even the bed is made from the simple concrete slab. And then he did have the screams of the prisoners next door.
That's a shelf.
Who were less healthy.
Oh, Christ.
Yeah.
Well, is that some human contact?
Well, yeah, sure.
Huzzah.
No human being is visible from inside the cells in the hole, save for the silhouette of a face on the other side of a narrow window. And so men are kicking the wall, sometimes for several hours at a time. Like,
fuck.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Now, just to jump ahead in Christopher's story, he becomes a bit of a mathematician, but I like his next sentence.
It's the next obvious thing.
I like to define hell as being the nth layer of rock bottom as n increases without bounds. And he was saying that this is where he found himself, in the nth layer of hell, where it just gets worse and worse. Sometimes it felt like on the other side of the concrete wall, I would reach that infinite limit. My way of passing the days was to play Sudoku and exercise, and when noises from the outside doors could be heard, I'd walk over and look to see what's going on.
So that he had...
Yeah, they let him have a Sudoku. I think one. You got to do it over and over again.
And no rubber. Sorry,
Just
for our American listeners, I mean eraser.
Yeah. Almost always the people walking past is a guard or a nurse. But on occasions, there was a gentleman who would walk past with a manila envelope and passing things under the doors of a couple of other prisoners.
Spy.
Now, I love patterns. Even then, I'd try and track the patterns of what's going on. The older gentleman was such a pattern. He'd come on certain days twice a week. I don't want to get too caught up, but my curiosity was piqued, and it led me to asking exactly what was in those envelopes. Mr. G, as he called him later.
Mr. G?
Didn't reply, but the next day, a packet of math worksheets slid through the slot of his cell door. And it was algebra. Whole bunch of math puzzles that, they were passing out. And Christopher just dived into it. As you can imagine, your brain is looking for any stimulus, and he's just like, oh, okay.
Did they give him a pencil as well, or he just had to do it in his head?
I don't know. Nothing remarkable, but it was all new to me. I studied this material for every hour that I was awake. When I slept, I would wake up with the solutions to the problems I could previously solve. So he's just...
That's cool.
As soon as he's got it, he's just got, this is filling all of my time. When I sleep, I wake up and I'm doing more maths. If I sat with each of the problem of Mr. G's sheets for long enough, I could always come up with a solution. I'd stay up all night, but I'd find a solution to these problems. And he thought, oh, okay.
He doesn't know if he's staying up all night, but I take his point.
Fair enough. No, he doesn't. I spent weeks in this pattern, and to speak truly, I can't remember a single voice screaming. No sounds of chaos. So suddenly, in solitary confinement, where it's been screaming and banging and just being alone, he's just gone, oh, I don't hear anything else. I've achieved flow state in the midst of hell. Wild. Suddenly flow state has been given to him by these math problems.
Do you reckon maths would do that for you?
Look, I actually like maths. I'm okay, but I've as many people, I've forgotten everything I ever knew.
I'm with you there.
But I could imagine being there and you're given a puzzle. You're like, well, what else am I going to think about? What else am I going to do?
Rubbing poo on yourself.
Yeah, but you can only do that for so much.
It's true. They don't feed you a lot, I'm guessing.
And then you think, well, what else? Maybe I'll do a math puzzle.
Yeah.
It was funny. I stood there and I looked at that plain concrete wall. It was meant to security against me, but I saw it as a blank slate. I decided right there that with 25 years in jail, I could choose to embrace mathematics and completely rebuild myself. I remember thinking, with 25 years, I could become a mathematician.
You know what? I reckon he could. 25 years.
Yeah. So it was an algebra course that Mr. G was giving out, every time he'd come past, he'd take the other ones and he'd correct them and give back the old ones to say, okay, you got this right, you got this wrong, blah blah blah. But soon he was saying to Mr. G, "Do you have anything more? Like
that all you got, bitch?
Yeah, what do you got? Dial me up. Do you have some harder packets?" And Mr. G was passionate about maths, but at some point, like he was like, "That's it." So he passed a little note and said, "Mr. Havens, I wish you luck on your journey," because he had maxed out everything that Mr. G could give him. And Christopher Havens was like, "Well, I don't want that to be the end of my journey."
Didn't Mr. G have access to a photocopier or a library?
I don't know.
Or did he correct his work?
No. But Christopher Havens went, "Well, I can do this myself." And
but he wasn't in solitary this whole time, right? Was he? How long was he in there? Are you going to tell me that later?
No, he's still in jail.
In jail, but not solitary the whole time, right?
I don't know when he came out of solitary. So he was he was definitely for a period in solitary,
and that's where this kicked off.
Yeah. And I think he's still in solitary at this point. I think still in solitary, but I don't have the timeline of when he got out of solitary.
And neither does he.
So Havens starts asking around. He writes letters to his mum, to other people, to get any maths textbooks or anything examples that he can get. He teaches himself trigonometry, calculus, hypergeometric summation. And soon, like he would write to his mum and say, "Can I get this textbook?" And she's like, "I don't understand any of those words, but I'll do my best."
Mum, you don't need to. We've been through this. You don't need to know what they mean. You just need to be able to show them to a book person.
So in January 2013, and remember he'd been in solitary November 2012, so he's been in there for 3 months.
3 months.
And
what the fuck did he do? I mean, seriously.
But by this point, here's the thing, by 3 months later, he's written to one of the publishers of a whole bunch of serious math journals and textbooks, so it's Mathematical Science Publishers, classic name there. And he said he was an inmate trying to learn advanced maths. And I love there's a copy of his letter to them.
If we had $1 for everyone who sent us
I know. Well, you'd be surprised. And there's a nice handwritten letter here. To whom it may concern, I'm interested in finding more information on a subscription to Annals of Mathematics for personal use.
Annals.
For personal use.
Yeah.
I'm currently serving 25 years in the Washington Department of Correction, and I've decided to use this...
For a little bit of murder. I hope you don't mind.
I don't think he said that, but that's all right. Use this time for self-betterment. I'm studying calculus and number theory as numbers have become my mission. Can you send me any information on your mathematical journal? Christopher Havens, and then he's put his prison number there after that. P.S. I am self-teaching myself and often get hung on problems for long periods of time. Is there anyone who I could correspond with, provided I send self-addressed stamped envelopes? There are no teachers here who can help me, so I often spend hundreds on books that may or may not contain the help I need, which, fuck, that would be frustrating. Thank you. And so he's sort of clutching the great, because he can't do internet searches. He can't do...
library?
He can't do a library. No. So he can get things sent to him, so like a textbook or something like that, and he can write to get to... But he has no knowledge of what is actually out there other than what has been in the book that he's just got.
But I feel like in some ways that could be better, because I mean, just frivolously or skipping across a bunch of internet searches doesn't require you to dive deep and think hard.
There's at least 2 ways where it clearly did help him. Absolutely. No, absolutely. And I think it's an interesting thing. The editors said, all right, we'll pass this around. They passed it to, and it eventually landed up with Umberto Cerruti, who's a mathematician from Italy.
You have to be, with a name like, as soon as you're Umberto, you must be intellectual.
I think so.
Because that's the second Umberto I've heard of, and the other one is Umberto Eco, and he's intellectual.
Very intellectual.
Therefore, they all are. That's maths, 2
Sorry
from 2.
for street fighting Umbertos out there.
They can be smart too. God, you're so racist.
But he's a mathematician in Italy working on number theory. Cerruti said, all right, well, here's a problem for you to solve. And it was, I think it was a number theory problem.
Yeah.
But Cerruti knew the solution to it. So he writes over, Havens does the solution. And remember, he can't use computer here. He's working it all out by hand. And a lot of number theory stuff, you actually need to do a whole bunch of computation. He writes it back and Cerruti's like, oh, damn, you got that. That's pretty good.
Computerless. Okay.
So Cerruti then is like, well, I'm working on this problem. And he didn't tell Havens this, but he said he sent him a problem that currently didn't have a solution.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, totally.
I've got an inkling. That's awesome.
No, he was like, okay, this is a problem. Can you work on this? And now here's the first thing. A lot of people have said that a lot of people might Google this if you're outside of the prison and go, oh, there's no solution, and then instantly go,
Well then.
It's not solvable, or you have to be professor of mathematics from wherever to be able to solve it.
You have to be 4 Einsteins plus.
Havens couldn't know that, so he dived in.
The bliss and beauty of ignorance.
Now, I'll just give a brief idea of the problem. I'm not going to cover it deeply because
for my sake. I mean, I know you understand it, but it wouldn't be fair to me, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's one of the two. It's one of the two. Now, it's in number theory, but there's a thing called continued fractions. So a rational number, you can divide it fairly neatly. So integers, 2, 3, 4, 5, they're all rational. Then short fractions, so a quarter.
Because they have clean boundaries.
Clean boundaries, even if they recur, like a third. But that's simple. You can see the pattern. So a third is 0.333. Yeah, it keeps going. Irrational numbers, the numbers keep going. They keep going, and there's no pattern. You can't detect anything going on. So pi, for example, 3.141, so on.
We don't know if it repeats.
We assume it doesn't, but there hasn't been a pattern found in it. But the point being, an irrational number doesn't have a pattern, and that's apparently why Pythagoras killed himself. I don't think it is, but.
I thought it was because his girlfriend didn't like him anymore.
It's both. It's both.
No, it's not because of the lady. It's because the irrational numbers make no sense.
I can get anyone.
I don't want to seem weak.
I could get anyone.
Yeah, look at me.
But it's irrational.
Do I get a laid? I get laid all the time. I know he's Greek, but hey, Italian will do. As if I do it over a girl.
But you can represent these numbers using fractions. Now, so for example, pi can be represented as 3 plus a 7th plus a 15th plus something like that, and then you can nest all of these fractions. Yeah, I know. It's okay. It's okay. You don't need to know this. You don't need to know that. But you can nest these fractions and keep them going down. The problem is, like to do this maths normally, you can come up with a theory, but you got to test it on like a computer. You gotta run it through the machine to be able to see what's actually going on. And the thing is, Havens didn't have a computer, so
should have thought of that before he murdered someone.
A couple of years later,
yep,
he has covered his cell wall. Now, I don't know if he's in solitary or not at this point. I haven't seen a picture of this, but I've got the images of, the people that cover their walls in like Bible pages or something like that. There's something.
Every wacky conspiracy, usually Judeo-Christian-based horror movie has got that.
He's got his cell walls covered in math notes where he's working out all of these number theory continued fractions problems all the way down. And he's hand counting all the way to the end. And eventually he comes out with a theory that equates for them all, and he writes it out on like this one
toilet paper.
Well, no, it's a long piece of paper. It's like 1.2 meters of paper. He sends it off to Umberto Cerruti,
who chokes on his limoncello.
Yeah, he did. I assume so. Let's assume that's what he did. But he put it through the computer, and he's like, "Oh my God, you have solved this thing that no one has ever done." Good. And as you can imagine, now he didn't provide a universal solution, but it was transformative, and no one had done it before. This result can open up new fields of research in number theory.
Fucking wild.
And
that's so wild.
Like this is the thing. There were people, the story of murderer in jail, solve math problem, like legit math problem, and it's all over the walls.
All the right wingers is like, so he killed a guy and he knows 1 + 1 = 2. I don't give a shit.
Look,
it's not a math problem, dude. So
he published this in the journal Research in Number Theory in January 2020. As you can imagine, newspapers were loving this story.
Corresponding address. Can we have your email? No.
Like the
phone
idea,
number? No.
Murderer solves unsolvable problems.
Does it have to be in the author bio?
I'll come back to that later, actually, because that's an interesting point. I mean, correspondence is a challenge and has always been a challenge for him. Since that point, So Havens published his first paper in 2020. This was this groundbreaking work in number theory.
It's wild. It's just wild.
He's published a few other things in maths as well.
Yeah.
Since then, he's working with people on other sorts of problems.
And he's still in jail, or are you going to get to that?
Still in jail. Still in jail.
They won't let him out for services to maths?
Well, this is the thing.
Maybe one day.
He's starting to think about what he's done. He's said many times, I was reading interviews with him, where he's like, I do want to pay my debt to society, and the way that I want to pay it
is mathemagically.
Absolutely.
Fair enough.
There's multiple things, but he does believe he wants to that part of them is by contributing to maths. He is also contributing to society by opening up new discoveries.
I agree.
And it's just beautiful. But, I mean, he's said a few other things as well. So since that time, he's continuing to work on mathematics projects like core maths, but he's doing a bunch of projects around maths as well.
That's amazing.
The first one, he's building this thing called, first he's building this prison math project where helping other incarcerated people to get into maths.
Always tutoring the year fours.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Does that make him a shark or a clownfish in this context?
I don't know. So I think it's a new form. It's not clownfish or shark. It's like, you can...
Octopus.
You can transcend by being different.
Because no one knows what's going on there.
And no one fights an octopus.
You'd be insane.
But yeah, so spreading this around prisons around the US.
Okay, good for him.
They do things like obviously tutoring different people in jail. They bring in outside mentors from university math departments and things like that. They celebrate Pi Day, which it's a nice thing to do.
Yeah, you got to do some stuff. Do they actually get special food for that?
Probably not. I don't.
Happy Pi Day. What does
I mean,
that
maybe
mean?
you do. Depends on the prison.
Yay for
Let's say
3.14.
it depends on the prison.
We always stop at 1.4.
But when mathematicians, they bring in mathematicians for visits to prisons. And in these events, mathematicians become rock stars in the eyes of the prison population.
Just imagine a dude getting wheeled out. You got a visitor. It's a special visitor. He's like, I'm going to go to the special caravan. I'm going to go to the special caravan. I'm going to go. It's a mathematician. I'm going to go to the special caravan and it's going to be a mathematician. No, what do they call it?
Conjugal visit.
Conjugal, isn't it like conuptial?
Yeah, you can have a conjugal and calculate.
I'm going to scream numbers while you blow me. Carry on.
But yeah, people like the mathematicians become rock stars at these visits. It was magical. They're all getting autographs and stuff.
That's
like
cool.
That. He's also built a programming system, and I'm not sure how this works because they're not really allowed computers very much, but a programming system so that mathematicians in jail can use this programming system.
I'm thinking it's on abacuses.
But the thing he's also looking at is this pathway, and he's published on this in the Journal of Prisoners on Prisons. So it's a prisoner-written journal.
Journal of Prisoners on Prisons.
Yeah, just talking about prison conditions and things like that.
I know you don't know this.
Who reads it?
Who publishes it?
Canada, University of
Canada,
Ottawa.
the country.
The University of Ottawa Press.
Prisoners on Prisoners.
Yeah, no, it's
on prisons.
It's been going for 30 years. And
there's an episode right there. Like, that's fascinating.
Prisoner-written, academically oriented and peer-reviewed non-profit journal based on the tradition of the penal press. So I think the penal press is an older school version. I know.
It's going to be funny every time you say it.
The penal press. Yeah.
Keep. I'm not going anywhere near that penal press.
Brings the knowledge produced by prison writers together with academic arguments to enlighten public discourse about the current state of prisons.
Like little prisoner on prisoner action.
That's
wild.
In an age where crime has become lucrative and exploitable, and what they mean is not like
prisons for profit.
Yeah, it's for profit prisons.
Fuck, there's another one.
You could imagine the writers in the Journal of Prisoners, they would be furiously angry at for-profit prisons.
There are a few things. I mean, I'm probably easily disgusted by many social, dysfunctions, but there's another episode right there, like for-profit prisons.
Oh, Jesus
Christ.
Christ.
The mere idea. They even imagine getting there and going, I've got an idea. I've got an idea.
It is the one of those things. I think there's a few things, but only governments should pay for it.
I want to incarcerate people for money. What do you reckon?
If you believe you have the right to lock up other people, then it's got to be government.
Profit. Profit. Anyway, sorry, but that just really drives me crazy.
There's this nice quote. I research in number theory in my free time and recently had my second paper accepted for publication at a professional journal. Another was recently submitted and more on the way. However, my contributions to math are nothing special. What I mean is that my work in number theory is no different than the work of any other mathematician in their own field. I've never made any groundbreaking discoveries, and he was really angry at people calling him the new Euler or something like that. He's doing good stuff.
Call me von Neumann.
But he's not. He's like, no, I'm not. I'm not.
I'm just a dude doing maths.
And I'm not trying to be the best. Indeed, I do maths because it's in my heart and an endeavour of beauty. My real work lies in a huge effort to understand the role of maths in self-identity and desistance from crime. He talks about...
What a hippie.
Erdish. You know, you talked about Erdish a while ago, Paul Erdish, like greatest mathematician in the 20th century.
Which we mistakenly said Erdos the whole time.
Well, it's cool, man. It's cool.
For those of you who don't know what Erdish is spelt like, it's spelt Erdos with some thingos.
But he's like one of the most productive mathematicians ever, and a lot of mathematicians look up to him. And I think, you know, we talked about this. It's not like he wanted to maximize his H index or something like that. He was doing it because he wanted the connection with other people. He was into it.
Yeah.
And doing it because he wanted the connection with other people. And I think there's something really interesting in Havens. He found in the cell there that there's a moment where maths can be not only a way to escape the cell, like literally his mind is going somewhere else. He's not hearing the noises. He's not trapped in solitary confinement in that way. He's communing with the cosmos.
But it's not something you hear every day. And like, you know, we offer advice to undergrad students coming through or getting into uni and stuff. And you don't often hear, I want to connect with other people. I'll do a maths degree. It's not the first thing that
Probably not.
Tends to come
Probably
out.
not. But I think there is something really nice that it was a moment where his brain he was kept in a quiet place where he could spend time on it. He kind of had to.
And look, no diss on that. It's not the first thing that comes to mind.
No. But as a redemption story, as someone going, actually, what I've found here is a way for me to contribute to knowledge, but also find something that I am passionate about in the day to day, and
it's creative too.
Something that is creative.
He's building.
So I just wanted to touch a little bit on the idea of recidivism and what education can do, because recidivism is people going back to jail after they have been to jail, which would be
that's just called a sequel.
Yeah, it is the sequel. But you know, if we're sending someone to jail, then hopefully the point
to rehabilitate.
Well, hopefully the point is to rehabilitate.
Yeah, it's not punishment; it's rehabilitation.
That they come out of the jail, they're a better person, they're not going to do the crime again. But recidivism rates around the world,
any crime in theory,
they're pretty high.
I can't imagine why.
Look, it can be maybe it is the person themselves.
No. Everything else?
Everything else. Okay.
The entire system that's set up around someone who said, "Oh, you've been in jail. I want to get a job." "Oh, but you've been in jail, so you can't have a job."
I had a quick look at.
Don't turn to crime. All right, I won't. Can I have a job? No, you've been in jail.
Yeah. Oh my God.
But I'm rehabilitated. Well, are you?
Well, I just want to touch on something on that. I had a look at we can define recidivism in a bunch of different ways, like if it's rearrest or if it's reconviction or going back to jail, and at what time period, like 1 year, 2 years, 5 years. But anyway, if you look at 2-year reconviction rates, which country do you reckon is the worst?
The most recidivistic.
Now this is. Well, I only have a small number of stats of countries here, mostly OECD.
Okay.
But you want to guess which is
Venezuela?
No, it didn't make the list. I don't have that in the list.
Okay. I'm going to say the Channel Islands.
You're not guessing real country. Oh, I mean, totally kind of real. They're not a real country.
Kuwait.
No, New Zealand. New Zealand came out at 61% as the highest recidivist rate.
That's because their jails are tops, bro.
Well, maybe everyone wants to go back. I don't know. But the US, 60%, Australia, 53%. We're not doing super well. We're not doing...
Over half.
Yes.
Over half.
Over half at 2 years are back in jail.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Really? Here, now?
Or reconvicted. So, yes.
Within 2 years, more than half?
Yeah.
Holy shit. I know anyone who's listening to this in jail or has been in jail is going, "You ignorant, privileged fuck." But I would have, if you'd said 25 to 30%, I would have gone, all right.
Well, only your advanced Norway and Iceland,
well, of course,
and Austria get.
Do you know why? Because no one can tell the difference between in jail and out of jail.
Yeah,
except when you have to go to bed as a grown up a bit earlier than you might expect.
Norway does make 20%. Iceland 26%. It's almost like So I had a look. You know, what is there's a lot of things that will minimize recidivism rates. You know, your structures on the outside, how you might help people to get jobs, help people to get lives, all of those kind of things. One of the biggest things you can do in jail. This is the in jail thing.
Is it education?
It's freaking education.
What do you know?
It is education. Look,
what do you know?
Square the circle.
Yeah.
So it lowers the rates of recidivism enormously. Some found like 29%, some found like 49%, 46%. There's one study in the UK. 46% of all prisoners will reoffend within a year of release. So that's slightly different from the stats we had before, but this is in the 1 year.
Yeah.
So 46% will reoffend,
Yeah.
but less than 5% of the people that do a university degree in jail reoffend. So it drops from 46 to 5% if you do a university degree.
So that's no big deal.
Look, it's not necessarily easy to do, but all it's saying is you give people education, and suddenly jail is a different prospect.
So we should make it more expensive.
So I think the thing here, you know, Christopher Havens, he has math projects that he's working on, but he, amongst others, is opening the door to say, hang on, maybe prisons are necessary. I don't know. There probably is a bit where keeping society safe and all of those. That's probably necessary.
This is a good thing to talk about, though. I mean, I know we're a bunch of left-leaning hippies, blah blah blah. But someone like stabs my friend or loved one, I want them fucked up, or at least.
But also,
pay.
Fucking them up doesn't bring them back.
No, I didn't. So. But if someone hurts something I care about, then my blind rage turns into.
Your blind rage wants a bit of. You want a bit.
But more broadly, yes, I think the idea of locking people up. Oh yeah, because you're a lovely human being. Whereas I'm a bit of a monster. Yeah. Yes, you are the magnet master. That's true. It's a superhero name. But the idea of it, I understand that the call for revenge, for punishment, etc. I get it, and in some cases there are people who should not be circulating freely because they don't know how to do it without hurting people in however ways they hurt them. That doesn't mean we just go insane.
Yeah.
And I mean, again, I won't keep going, but private prisons, that's going insane.
But also, I mean, I think it's. You know, you can think of what is the prison, and prison as keeping the rest of society safe. That's one, but prisons for punishment, prisons for profit. You know, prisons as a necessary evil in which we might rehabilitate people for a better life.
Well, I think there's at least two strands. One is if you're really clear that these people are irredeemable. How you decide that, of course, is open to contestation, but. Fully irredeemable people for whatever reasons it may be is one thing. People who have just fucked up.
Yeah.
And often it's because they've had, situations.
Yeah.
That I agree with, rehabilitate, retrain, etc. So I think there's kind of at least two kinds of prison. One is, look, we don't know what to do with you, we really don't. And the other is everyone else.
Yeah. There's a bunch of ways you can support Christopher Havens' project and others that are bringing maths and other forms of education to incarcerated people.
Are you about to ask me for money?
I'm not. You can find them out there on the web because I couldn't write the links down. But I think this is one of those things where if we actually want prisons to do the right thing, then if we can, providing education,
100%.
That's what we should be doing.
I've no doubt.
Another thing that we can think about, there's a movement called Ban the Box.
Wait, what?
No, it's not Ban the Box.
Not television.
No, it's not. That's a different move. No, this is criminal history check on things that aren't necessary. Now, I get. There are certain places where absolutely, you're working for a bank or something like that. Have you been
bank robber?
Yeah, did you rob banks in the past? I think allowing that box is fine.
Seems relevant.
But removing it from places like university admissions in innocuous programs where
it's in there.
Yeah,
do we ask that?
I don't know if we do.
I've never seen a form at our university, but I haven't looked at forms for a while.
Yeah, but so recently
like you want to flip burgers. Like, have you ever had a bad car accident that you were drunk for?
Not relevant.
You can't flip burgers.
But
bullshit.
recently, the UK had a box on there. Have you been incarcerated in their university admissions? And they have removed it. And so there are efforts by a lot of formerly incarcerated people and currently incarcerated people to say, get rid of the box. If it's relevant, I get it. I get it. But can we just stop?
If you've been naughty and you want to work in a kindergarten, no.
This whole making it harder for people is what we want to do. Like, come on.
No. Or stop calling it rehabilitation.
Hey, just a final little point that I found. Solitary confinement doesn't work. Like
what? So it's not as useful as torture.
Well, okay, it does the same things, but we can say solitary confinement. One, either it's a punishment, but again, that's not rehabilitating people, or it's keeping the prison lower in violence. So if you're violent and to other prisoners, then you got to be put in your solitary
until you get out.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing. Research on this has found that actually it increases antisocial tendencies.
Really? So cutting people off from society makes them more antisocial.
Yeah. Yeah.
Isn't that in the Journal of Prisoners for Prisoners?
Probably. No, I don't know. It's
right. We just realised when we locked this guy up, like 9 days out of 10 over the 40 years he's been here, he's been alone. When we put him back in the general population,
doesn't work well.
He's a bit messed up. Fucking assholes.
You might be horrified to know how many.
I've been horrified a lot so far.
How many prisoners? Like in the US, there are a lot of prisoners. I don't have the total number here.
It's a shit ton.
But throughout COVID, they threw hundreds of thousands of people into permanent solitary confinement, and it's
COVID.
So that no one gets the COVIDs. And I just
for their own good.
Just
Sorry.
Another. We will be reassessing COVID for quite some time.
You will.
But this idea of suddenly just going, let's en masse just throw prisoners into solitary confinement, that will solve the problem.
Well, if the problem is you can't transmit disease through concrete walls, then yes.
That's great. That's great.
Is that the problem?
What have you been thinking about?
I'm still thinking about that, to be honest. Like that. Actually, this is not unrelated. I was thinking about, can you plead insanity in Australia, and what does that look like? We were told in psych classes, insanity is only a legal thing and nothing else.
Okay.
And I thought, okay, that's quite interesting. But the whole idea of pleading insanity or some equivalent, I'm just curious about the nuances.
I feel like it's a catch-22 because if you're cognizant enough to be able to plead insanity, then surely
you don't have to plead it yourself.
Oh, you get someone on your behalf.
You have a proxy. They call them lawsters.
Yeah. Okay.
Lawyer fires. But that's.
Are you looking for an insanity defense?
It's good to have one in the back pocket, don't you think? You never know.
Look, maybe at any moment take a shroom.
Social mores change, at the drop of a hat, and I could accidentally transgress. Or could I? Because I'm insane.
I watched a TV show a little while ago, but it had a laugh track. I'm like, whoa.
A lot of them did.
Whoa, so weird.
It's horrible.
So weird. Why did we decide a laugh track is a good thing?
But some of the modern ones have them, and the modern really shit sitcoms, usually American but not always, and by modern I mean this century at least, when they have a laugh track, it just makes me already angrier than the shit jokes that they already have.
It's cringe, but it's also, why did we need to be told when to laugh?
Because some of them just aren't funny.
Are there shows that still have laugh tracks? And where are they more common? Who is doing this? And
are you ready for my racial biases? America. That's it. That's my whole answer.
Maybe. That's because they produce most of the TV. They produce all the TV that's worth watching anyway. So anyway,
I want to fight with you, but it's hard. The Poms do some stuff.
I am interested in the laugh tracks. What else have you been interested in?
I was kind of musing on the idea of confirmation bias, and is there anything good about it? What are the good bits of confirmation bias where you are fueling your own beliefs and preferences, etc., whether you mean to or not? There's got to be some good stuff about it. I don't know what it is yet, but I feel like it's
confirmation bias.
Yeah, I want good confirmation bias. What's the good stuff about confirmation bias? Other than the entire way I move through my own world.
Yeah. So I'm confirmed in myself. Maybe you're happier. Like if you dial up confirmation bias, people are happier.
I am. I'm like, that shat me, and then I saw an example that I choose to think is representative of that thing that shat me. I am right to be shat.
Yeah. I've been watching a bit of the
Seinfeld
Trump courtroom dramas,
who hasn't?
And I've just it's rare these days that it's the only place where sketches are a legitimate job, and I just want to know the history of courtroom sketches and what's good, what's bad. What are you trying to capture?
Fuck, it's clownish, isn't it? Oh, we won't let cameras in here, but can a dude come in and use crayons? Yes.
Like it's kind of nice though. Like it's a nice preservation.
Well, it's warmer. It's like
I feel like they should get we go to the markets and they're like, I'll draw your
caricature.
Cartoon. Yeah, I'll draw your. I want to see that.
Well, look at the size of your chin. It's true though. No, it's hipster. It's
so weird that the courts are very hipster. I mean, look,
it's
they
vinyl
wear
of the
wigs
courtroom,
and they love the old school. Yeah. But there's a bit of me that thinks about courtroom sketches.
Was that maybe inspired by Jon Stewart?
Well, no, I mean, many people did a bit. I mean, this is getting old for you now and the future listener. But many people have talked about courtroom sketches around Trump. I mean, I'm just interested, really, like what are we trying to achieve?
Where did that come from?
Why do we preserve this? What's going on?
Just take a photo. Yeah, I agree. I like that one. I like that.
You got any more?
Well, look, this one, there's no way in hell I could cover it because it's far too clever and confusing, and it's worse than the maths one. But the notion of randomness, and does true randomness actually exist?
It's the edge of the universe. You escape through randomness. You told me that before.
Did I?
Yeah, you did.
Did I mean it?
Yes, you did.
Was it based on
You
anything?
said this is how you escape the universe is what, by finding a random number. And then you can, like, I'm sure Christopher Havens, if he found a random number.
Is he listening?
A purely random, that's why Pythagoras killed himself. He was escaping the universe because he found an irrational number.
Not irrational, random. I mean, the reason I think about this is because, as we both do, when students come to you and go, okay, so we randomly selected some people, it's like, look, to say the word random.
Yeah. Not good enough, buddy.
No, but you just got to be clear what you mean. What you mean is like actual random. And then I remember years ago talking to someone like a physicist going, okay, we're trying to generate a truly random number. So we've got this cloud of cesium atoms at just above absolute zero, and we fired a laser, but we don't know which prong it's going to come out of. And we've done that by rolling a dice and then spinning a turtle on its back, and then boom, it hits one of the atoms, and that's the number. It relates to the number in ways I can't understand. Random number.
A, that there would be a desire for this level of random, and B, that there is some cool physics to achieve it.
Wild physics.
That's so cool.
It's kind of the reverse of confirmation bias. It's like the most hardcore way you can say there is no way in shit we've influenced what we've looked at because we've generated it from a truly random number.
But from a very different perspective, there are some people out there that are like, no, we are, and this is one of the topics that I'm interested in. Yeah. We are fated. Like the universe will roll out as it will.
As
we
intended.
have no not intended. No, not even intended. We have no free will. And all we are, and every single atom in the universe, is not written by a god, but it will happen in this way because this is the way it will happen.
Because if X hits that, then that hits that.
Yep. And they're like, no, you don't get it. All the way down to the bottom, this has all, like, you could run the universe back and forth on the same tape, and it would happen the same every way. And I'm like,
and you don't
that can't be true.
How do you not like Foundation, then, the Apple series? Because that's psychohistory, terrible name, but I get it.
Too ponderous.
But the point of it is basically it's all ultimately predictable.
But I'm going to cheat because there's two topics I want to talk about. But there is
bastard.
I kind of feel like are we becoming more fatalist right now, where we look at the
I wasn't going to, but then I stopped.
No,
caring.
but we look at the trajectory of the world over the next few years, and we go, oh well, non-zero chance World War III's coming. And we just go,
oh, well.
I wish we could do something about it, but no, we can't.
But we can't.
Because we're fated. We're fated.
So,
and I'm like, God damn it. Maybe we are. I'm dying.
Well, then you got to look back in time and go, how many times did that already happen? Like, heaps.
Yeah, sure. I just wanted to flag one last topic. So a buddy of mine sent a paper, and this just tickles me. Up in Queensland, this is a Australian state. Got a lovely coral reef out the front.
Well, bits of it.
So on the front lawn, we've got a nice coral reef. It's pretty.
Except for some of it.
Well, not as pretty as it was. And one of the problems is there's dastardly starfish, the crown of thorns starfish.
Monsters.
It's been out eating the coral. So the Queensland government has been killing the starfish. And deep down, the weird thing for me is it's a native species. And we're like, but we want the other native species, not this native species. And they're like, literally, they're sending scuba divers down with little syringes to inject these things. And I'm like,
inject them?
What are we doing here?
It's humane.
And some research has just come out from a buddy of mine that says, maybe it's not motivated by the science. It's motivated by other things.
What? When does that ever happen?
It's weird.
You're freaking me out, man.
I just want a quick one from the mailbag. I was informed by my mother after listening to your discourse on redheads
that you were supposed to be?
That she describes it as my great granny was a full-on redhead. She says full-on redhead.
As in hers or yours? Her grandmother was a full-on redhead?
Yeah, her grandmother.
Does she know? Like, did the collars match the cuffs?
Jeez Louise. Jeez Louise. People in the olden days aren't allowed to ask questions like that.
That's all they asked, and that's how they asked
That's all they asked. We'll be back in the future, listener.
It's pretty metal. It's pretty metal, really.